Today on Locked On Red Wings, Dylan Larkin's 2 power play goals elevates Detroit past the Buffalo Sabres.
You're Locked On Red Wings, your daily podcast on the Detroit Red Wings. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Red Wings podcast. We are your hosts, Brian Fisher and Scotty Bentley. Scotty's a host over at Locked On Tigers, as well as a freelance journalist for the Detroit News, while I am a color commentator for the Oakland University D1 men's hockey team. Scotty, great weekend for Detroit sports. You got, obviously, the Red Wings broke their 3-game losing streak against the Buffalo Sabres. Lions won, division rival, Green Bay Packers, in Lambeau, under the weather, which was crazy, just
under
windy.
The weather. That's
rainy.
The thing people say, under the weather.
It was under the weather for Detroit. Normally they have the ceiling, so
under
big game
the weather,
for them.
baby.
And the Pistons.
And
big
the Stones, well. Baby.
Yeah.
What a big win. Big victory Monday for the city here.
Under the weather. Yeah, absolutely.
Under the weather and everything.
Under the weather and everything. Scotty, we want to talk about the Buffalo Sabres game, obviously, because this is Locked On Red Wings. If you want to hear about the Pistons win, go check out Locked On Pistons. If you want to listen about the Lions beating the Green Bay Packers, go check out Locked On Lions. But for our purposes here, today's episode is brought to you by Indeed. Looking for a great candidate for your company? Don't search, match with Indeed. Nice job, buddy. Just tabbed on back over, and I saw the light show going on. The Red Wings won 2-1 against Buffalo Sabres on Saturday. Don't play again against Wednesday, which we have our own qualms with, considering that's going to be back-to-back weekends with an insane schedule with lots of days off. It makes no sense. But, Scotty, when it comes to this hockey game, what are your overall thoughts first? And, give me your difference maker, too.
Yeah, I think this was just a really nice, sound victory. And it didn't come without, its high-intensity moments. It was obviously a one-goal game, very close hockey game throughout. It was always within a goal. The entire game, all 60 minutes, it was, a goal or less in the scoreboard. So it was really nice to see the Wings play in a game like that and legitimately look like the better team for a solid amount of the game. And I know that's crazy to say, but they're what, 5-5-1 now? They have multiple of these wins that they have had. We've come on here and been like this, they won, but this is not a sustainable way to win. They did not look like the better team, etc. And to have a game that was a close in division, grinded out type of 2-1 final in which they legitimately looked like, and I'm not saying it was a perfect game for all 60, and Buffalo still outshot them by a decent margin, but there was actually signs of life of a good, solid all-around game. We'll talk about the special teams later that is, got off to a really slow start this season. But I don't think we can go any further without talking about Dylan Larkin, who is going to be my biggest difference maker in this game, obviously responsible for all of the scoring from the Wings in this game. The 2-1 final, and he recorded 2 goals.
Yeah, I think it goes without saying that he's the biggest difference maker, and he actually factored in on all 3 of the goals, considering he had that awful turnover in the first period that led to a shorthanded goal against Alex Tuch using that long reach of his to pick the pocket of Dylan Larkin. Alex Tuch was dangerous all game long. He had several really good opportunities, converted on that one early. Yeah, and he's a good player. But as soon as they scored that goal, man, I was like, oh no, here we go again. But like you said, it was a solid. I thought it was a fairly solid game by the Detroit Red Wings. And I know they got outshot by 9, I think was the final total. But a lot of that has to do with third period push, which was the same thing in the second game against the Nashville Predators. A lot of it just has to do with the team that's down, trying to tie things up desperately. 12 of I think they had 13 shots total in the third period. The Red Wings 7, so they widened the gap in the third period for sure with that push. But I think overall it was a nice back and forth game. Both teams had periods of time where they were bringing the pressure and they had sustained zone presence. This is a game where they weren't just on their heels in the defensive zone the whole time. There were still times where that was the problem, but it wasn't the entire game. Like, this was definitely a much better team performance, and it's good to see that sign of life against a team that is in the same tier as you in the Buffalo Sabres, a team that's got some really exciting youth that's trying to make that transition to a playoff team. So being able to play toe-to-toe with that team is a positive sign, and being able to get that win is also great as well. And
Yeah,
Luke, you want to say something?
well, at the end of the season, or even mid-season, right? Like when we look back, assuming the Wings are in the hunt here, which we're all kind of hoping for, this is going to be looked back on as like a pretty important big victory potentially. So, yeah, man, I was just obviously you need to get wins and you need to stack up wins as much as you can here early in the season. There's no denying that, but I think even beyond the box score, this was just really nice to see them play a really strong competitive hockey game through first six.
And I agree. Dylan Larkin was the number one difference maker in this hockey game with both those power play goals. Just really great shot selection by Dylan Larkin. The one from the goal line, being able to put it past Pukka Luukkonen with from the goal line, and then the second one, I don't know how he got that top shelf from that.
The angle there is crazy.
Well, and you got to imagine that close to the goalie, there's not a lot of space to fire it either. Like, a lot of your options got taken away, and both of them were great. They were assisted by Patrick Kane on the first one, Alex DeBrincat and Lucas Raymond on the second, so Lucas Raymond remains point per game. But your second difference maker in this hockey game, Scotty, I think has got to be Cam Talbot, right? Like, you don't win this hockey game without the performance you got of Cam Talbot, which is continuing to be a theme in these games, right? I mean, he faced 32 shots and only allowed one goal, .969 save percentage, and a goal saved above expected of 1.86. So he saved nearly 2 more goals based on the shots that he faced. He was very, very steady in this game. And when Cam Talbot is on, he is very steady. I feel like he's very rarely... He does have sometimes like flashy plays, but I feel like he's very rarely flashy, but he's always steady and where he needs to be and making the saves, not giving up huge rebounds, sometimes despite what the players in front of him are doing, which is something I'm sure we'll talk about. But he was definitely the second difference maker in this game.
I completely agree. Yeah, he's the honestly, like, going into this recording, I think there was an argument for him being the biggest difference maker in this game. I thought he was phenomenal. Obviously, only the one goal against, and now very quietly, for a goalie situation that going into the year was such a giant question mark and that we had so many concerns about, and that I know I specifically voiced a lot of concerns about, this goalie situation, now they, I believe as a team, have the 7th or 8th best team save percentage in the NHL. Like, we'll take that. And again, there's a lot of shortcomings still with this team, and there's a lot of things that need to be addressed. And we talk coaching all the time, and there's so much when it comes to possession metrics and not allowing your goalies to be put in situations where they have to kind of play superhero in order to get some wins. But it is nice having a duo, a truly, like, both of them have been really solid so far on the season. And that has been a very, I don't want to call it a pleasant surprise, because that almost seems like insulting, but I surely didn't expect them to be both as good as they have been so far in the season.
Yeah, I mean, right now, Cam Talbot, according to Evolving Hockey, Cam Talbot is 7th in save percentage at .919. And Alex Lyon is 10th in the league in save percentage at .916. Obviously, Alex Lyon kind of got shelled against Winnipeg, so
he was like second before that.
He was at like .943, and then he got shelled, so that took a hit. But still, like, you got 2 goalies early in the season here who are top 10 in the league in save percentage, which again is fantastic. But we keep reiterating, like, is it sustainable? And that's not a shot at the goaltending, but it's just like, if they're going to continue to face 30-plus shots every single game, they're going to give you games like Winnipeg, where Alex Lyon finally got exposed. Not exposed as in he's bad, but like, just sheer volume is eventually going to get to you. So I agree. There is really no, especially with Ville Husso injured in Grand Rapids, like, there's no controversy anymore. These are your 2 goalies. And right now, for the most part, they're playing very well and they're winning you hockey games. But you got to start playing better hockey in front of them if you want them to continue winning hockey games, because they're not going to be able to save your ass every single night, again, as we saw in Winnipeg. But this was a night where, against a high offense team in the Buffalo Sabres, because they are a high offense team,
For sure.
especially with Tage Thompson's shot. But they were able to get the win. You got 2 timely power play goals from Dylan Larkin and a great goaltending performance from Cam Talbot.
Absolutely.
We're going to head to a quick break. When we return, we're going to move on to our other notable performers from this hockey game, players that stood out to us. Players or units, I guess you could say, that stood out to us. So stay tuned for
It's called a teaser right there.
We're professionals.
Yeah.
Today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. Just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. You can now earn up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. Want to play Prize Picks alongside Drewski, Joe Budden, and MMA champ Sean O'Malley? You can now find community plays under the promo tab on the app to view entries from some of the biggest names in the Prize Picks community each week. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play that first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. Today's episode is also brought to you by Indeed. We're driven by the search for better, but when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. And Indeed doesn't just help you hire faster. 93% of employers agree Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent Indeed survey. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences, so the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/lockedon. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our show by saying you heard about it on this podcast. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
Indeed you do.
Segment 2, Locked On Red Wings podcast. Scotty, notable performers in this hockey game. There's quite a few, I feel, mostly for good reasons. I do have one on here that I've added to the show sheet since we've began talking that I want to bring up as bad. But, Scotty, who are your notable performers?
Honestly, I think my first notable performer, just because it's not going to show too terribly much in the score sheet for Buffalo, is Tage Thompson. That dude is a freak. He is, man, absolutely ridiculous, and I'm not kidding. Every time he touches the puck, I am terrified. That trade is looking like it is working out pretty wonderfully for Buffalo. I guess you could argue it worked out for both sides. Just one, short-term versus long-term type of mindset. But yeah, man, he is terrifying. Like,
absolute cannon.
He is legit. It's like if Michael Rasmussen was the fastest dude on the ice. Like, that's like what he's terrifying, dude. He's a very good hockey player. I love watching him play, just not against my team. For the Wings, I think obviously we covered the 2 big ones. I know I'm kind of jumping the gun a little bit here, but I really do think that Marco Kasper continues to impress. And Berggren, who we have been hyping up lately, I think continues to impress as well. And the reason why, again, I know I keep reiterating this, is because his defense specifically is showing more and more signs of life. In the forecheck, he is getting more aggressive on and more successful on throughout the season already, and we're only, a month in. So I want to give him his flowers for sure. And I know that you had mentioned before we hit record here that the 2 of them just playing together also have looked pretty good, together and in a vacuum, both impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that they have continuously, I mean, they've had chemistry last year, especially in the playoffs down in Grand Rapids. So, like, when I saw them set on the same line, I wasn't too terribly surprised. And I'm really happy to see that that chemistry is alive and
It's a
well.
good point.
I mean, Rasmussen is kind of along for the ride right now on that line. So, or
Yeah.
Tarasenko, I'm sorry, I think it was Tarasenko on Saturday's game.
Glad,
It's kind of along for the ride right now. I think they're supposed to add like that veteran presence. Tarasenko should be a phenomenal scoring attribute for that line, but it's really those two that feel like they're doing all the heavy lifting for the Detroit Red Wings. I mean, they were third and fourth on the team in Corsi for percentage at 5-on-5 with 52% and 51%. When their line was on the ice, the team generated more shot attempts for than faced. And and we saw it in the game against Winnipeg. Like Jonathan Berggren was like 74% Corsi for percentage. That was a weird game. I don't know how much of that is just like, but he had a fantastic game. And so when practice lines came out and Tyler Mott had taken his spot, I was like, I'm surprised because he played so well against Winnipeg, but I'm not surprised because he was the guy we were thinking all along might be the odd man out because he's a not a small, but like a slightly undersized scoring winger who hasn't been scoring. So I was not too terribly surprised, but I was happy to see that come game time, he was actually in the lineup. And he and Marco Kasper. And it's almost insane that they have yet to convert because that line, every time it's out there, feels like it's your second best line. That's crazy to say, but behind Dylan Larkin's line, it feels like that third line with Kasper and Berggren is the one that is producing the most offensive looks. And we've been really hard on Jonathan Berggren early on in this season and in the offseason. But they consistently are hard on the forecheck, generating puck battles and winning puck battles, and not slacking on the defense. And they're getting to the net, they're getting shots on net, or they're getting shot attempts, I should say. Not a lot of them are getting to the net. Like, it feels like it's a matter of time before all that effort converts. I agree with you. I thought they were very good in this hockey game yet again. I think, unless you have anything else to add, I think the power play, we kind of mentioned it by proxy of Dylan Larkin's 2 power play goals, but the power play for the Red Wings, it could have borderline been a difference maker because it continues to be what's driving the offense for this hockey team. And it's really come alive since kind of starting off slow at the beginning of the season. They now have the 8th best power play in the league, which is right where they were last year. So it was like a little bit of a slump trying to figure out these power play lines after David Perron left. But like now they've kind of figured it out. Like they're converting at least 1 or 2 each and every game. And it did its job again.
They have catapulted up the power play rankings on the season. They were, special teams as a whole was down at the bottom. Both of them were down at the bottom of the NHL, 5, 6, 7 games into the year. And now we're at a point where the power play has been so hot that even including those games, it is back into a top 10 power play unit on the season. And that's obviously, again, if you shorten that sample size and just talk about the last 5 or 6 games, you're talking about legitimately one of the better units. And that's obviously very small. I'm not trying to say it's the best or anything, but the fact that it's back on its feet and we can actually rely on the special teams to do stuff is nice because for a while there, it was looking a little shaky. And I mean, we can group in the kill into that as well. The penalty kill is still towards, what did you say before we hit record? 29th? Like it's still
29th. Yeah.
Towards the very bottom in the league in production. They went through a rough patch. They might still be in it. Who knows? But they started off the season very poorly and went through one stretch where it was like X amount of consecutive penalty kills they had allowed a goal on. So obviously still waiting for that to kind of catch up. It looked decent in this game, though, which is why I bring it up. I think that the special teams all around was a huge factor. And again, as you said, maybe the sole, it might be the biggest difference maker in this game, certainly.
Yeah, absolutely. They were very good in this hockey game. Finally for the segment, I want to just shout out Albert Johansson and Eric Gustafsson. Not that they were fantastic, but I think that pair looked steady in the role they were given. I mean, they were pretty sheltered in this hockey game. Of course, Albert Johansson's a rookie, and Eric Gustafsson is an offensive first defenseman. So you're not going to put them in situations that's going to be dangerous. But I think they handled themselves well in this hockey game, especially, you only allowed one goal, and it was a shorthanded goal in which Dylan Larkin coughed the puck up. Johansson continues to kind of find his stride at the NHL. Gustafsson, this was his best game yet defensively, low bar. But, I think that pair is worth putting back out there again to see if they can continue to kind of build on this. Because, any game where that third pair doesn't stand out is probably a good thing.
Yeah, I agree. And I also think that there's a potential for that to be kind of like an opposites attract type of pair as well, right? Like you have the more offensive minded blue line player paired with Aljo, who is going to be a little bit more defensively sound, hopefully when, at his best. So I think that there is potential there. And now that Olimata is gone, that frees you up the little bit of flexibility to try more stuff in that regards. So yeah, I would be interested in seeing the pair again. We've obviously talked about blue line and the lack of blue line depth for a while. So if you can get a serviceable third, I just feel like I just said line, third pair on the blue line, consistently, if that is something that can be developed, then beauty.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to take another quick break, and I keep saying absolutely. I can hear myself saying it, and it's driving me nuts. Crutch word. We're going to head to a quick break, and when we return, we'll finish up any notable performers we have and take you guys into the start of the week. So stay tuned. Segment 3, Locked On Red Wings.
Absolutely, man.
I hate you. Today's episode is brought to you by Built Rewards. Listen up, renters. Ever feel like you're stuck in the loop of rent payments, just watching your money vanish into thin air? It's time to turn that rent game around and start earning some serious rewards. That's where Built Rewards comes in. Built is breaking ground as a neighborhood rewards program that hooks you up with points on your rent. Every month, pay your rent and watch the Built points roll in. Use points to jet off on a dream vacation. Put your points towards a flight or a hotel stay with 500 plus airlines and 700,000 plus hotels and properties. You can also use your points to book fitness studio classes, redeem them towards a future rent payment. They're designed to meet your lifestyle. Pay rent hassle-free through the Built Rewards app. Your rent game just got a major upgrade. Built points have been consistently ranked the highest value point currency of the points guy and bank rate. Earn points by paying rent now when you go to join built.com/LockedOnNHL. That's joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNHL. Make sure to use our URL so they know we sent you. Join built.com/LockedOnNHL to start earning points and your rent payments today. Also need to talk to you guys today about FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets all in one place, so when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com today to get started. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Segment 3, Locked On Red Wings podcast. Scotty, who else you got, if anything, in terms of difference or notable performers in this game?
I think that, well, I don't know. I think there's a couple of good and bad ones. I think we continue to praise the top pair defensively, and while it wasn't a perfect performance, I still think that that I don't know, like Cider is just awesome.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it's so nice to have just feels like a great equalizer. It's like, okay, like no matter what happens on the blue line, no matter what happens with the second pair, and if they're going to be any good, no matter what happens with the third pair, if we trade people, if we let people go, whatever, Edvinsson, inconsistencies as a rookie, etc. Like, it's just nice to know, okay, when the opponents best players are on the ice, we are going to have a top tier defenseman on the ice as well. And I think that was a big takeaway for me in this game.
And I think Edvinsson is trending in that direction as well. He's been very good to start the season. He's had a couple hiccups here and there,
For sure.
but overall he's been very good. Notably, though, he did not finish the game on the ice. Cider and Sherratt played the last 2 straight minutes together.
Yeah.
So I don't know if Lalone felt maybe he was having an off game or if he was sick. Who knows? I'm not going to read too much into it, but I did take note of
just
that.
Been a set thing too of okay, when I don't know, I don't know the different pairings and sets for everything that are obviously going alongside or going behind the bench there, but I feel like maybe it was also just okay when the other team is in desperation mode and there's 90 seconds left. This is who we have on the ice, kind of thing.
Overall, I thought Sherratt and Petrie were, I don't want to continue to rag on them, but Petrie coming off a game where he had a horrible turnover that ended up being the game-winning goal. He had 2 pucks go off his skate to the opponents for scoring chances in this game as well. And they got a failed clear, and Max Boltman tweeted it and said this is a microcosm of the Red Wings season thus far. So shout out him for pointing it out. But Jeff Petrie on a failed clear attempt, failing to get it out, created a situation where the Red Wings got hemmed in, ended up taking a penalty because they were tired. So that second pair continues to just get trapped in the defensive zone or create untimely turnovers that result in scoring chances the other way. And it's just Jesus, please just I'm rooting for them to have success because I get tired of having to talk about it. But it's notable. These turnovers are back-to-back games were brutal right to the opponent's stick. The one puck was coming back towards Jeff Petrie in the defensive zone. He just kicked it right off his skate right to Alex Tuck, who was breaking down the right wing. And it's dude, what are we doing? Use your stick, for God's sakes. Of course, he tried to use his stick the game before, and that's how he gave it away. Anyways, I digress. I thought it was interesting. We saw Lucas Raymond down on the second pair. Patrick Kane promoted. I think they were trying to spread out the wealth a little bit because Lucas Raymond obviously has been fantastic to start the season. 10 assists now in the season, just 1 goal. But a lot of that has to do with the fact that Dylan Larkin has 7 goals and 1 assist. Lucas Raymond has 1 goal and 10 assists. They keep finding each other on the power play, and again, did in this game as well, as Lucas Raymond got an assist on Dylan Larkin power play goal. So it felt like they were trying to spread the wealth out a little bit. Notably, that second line with Andrew Kopp, JT Compher, and Lucas Raymond got the most difficult deployments out of anyone in this hockey game, even more difficult than the defensemen. If you go to Puck IQ and you set the time range to the day of the game, they faced 65% of their time on the ice against elite competition.
Yeah,
so that's slightly subjective because this is Puck IQ's definition of what they view as an elite line. So it can vary depending on the team, and I don't know what goes into it, but they say that JT Compher and that second line had the most time against elite competition, and they kind of got crushed analytically in that role. But it freed up Dylan Larkin in the top line to have really favorable deployments.
Right. I don't know. I think on paper I understand it.
Yeah.
Right.
Three two-way forwards.
Right. You're talking about Kopp, who's one of the better defensive forwards on the team. Compher, two-way player. Raymond has been so good defensively that he's been, a big part of the penalty kill this season. And it just didn't go swimmingly. So I don't know. I feel like that's probably still something that's pretty subject to change here. There's going to be a lot of different revolving door of, I was going to say second line, but I think really top to bottom, the whole lineup card, I think is still just so fluid because they're trying to figure out what can work best and give them the possession of the freaking puck the most throughout 60 minutes. And I still don't think they have found that.
Right. They're still working out the kinks for sure. And, they got the first win of the game, the win of the month, rather. They got one of the 8 wins that I want them to get this month in the 13 games they're going to play. So you don't apologize for winning. But there's still a lot to be worked on. But it was a much better game than we have seen recently.
Agreed.
So, got any final thoughts? I think I've hit on everything that I want.
I think so too, man. Yeah, no, again, it was just, it was a little reassuring. It's not like everything's just solved and there's no problems, but it was just nice to. It's like Kevin Malone in The Office. It's like it's just nice to win one. It's just nice to get back on. You're back to 500. You looked like a good team against another team that's around your same caliber in division. It's just a really, really nice win.
Yeah, it was far from perfect, but it was a competitive hockey game, which is something that we want to see. I'm still waiting for the game where they dominate the opponent.
Yeah,
but
same.
Going toe to toe with an opponent is a good start for sure. One thing that they did dominate on, there's not much of a conversation here, but just anecdotally, they won 60% of the faceoffs in this hockey game. 60%. They dominated the faceoff circle. And that goes a long way to, scoring goals is winning possession. So
they started off they were not very good at it last year, and they started off the season. I complained a lot about their team faceoff percentage early on in the season because it's, kind of like half a bit of like, my favorite stat. They are up to 12th in the NHL in team faceoff percentage as it stands right now. So you're, top half of the league all of a sudden. That's something that's been kind of a big revelation. I think the biggest thing with that is just defensive zone, man. Like it is so imperative to win those defensive zone faceoffs, and they weren't for the first 5 or 6 games of the year. Even if you're not going to maintain possession out of the zone or like enter the zone, the other way, just being able to clear it and reset or get a change or anything is just for preventing purposes more so than really anything else even. So, nice to see them take some strides in the right direction there as well.
Absolutely. Larkin, 65% win rate in this game, 13 wins, 7 losses. Andrew Kopp, 77% win rate, 7 wins, 2 losses. And Comfort with 5 wins and 4 losses for 55%. So much getting there, getting a lot better. So signs of life in the Red Wings. I think that should be the title of this game. Signs of life. We'll be back. We'll be back with a new episode tomorrow. Not a game till Wednesday, so we'll figure out what to talk about. Same time, same place. It's your team every day.
Every day.